We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
Tonight, the first images of American missiles launching from a U.S. Navy ship.
The White House releasing this dramatic video of the U.S. blowing up a boat in the Southern Caribbean.
My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela.
We need to clean house of all of the warmongers and America last globalists.
And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II.
They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence.
Big attack, and you really did a big job
in American history.
As a candidate for president, I loudly pledged, great nations do not fight endless wars. One of the reasons I was the only president in generations who didn't start a war is that I was the only president who rejected the catastrophic advice of many of Washington's generals, bureaucrats, and the so-called diplomats who only know how to get us into conflict, but they don't know how to get us out.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
When I'm back in the White House, we will expel the warmongers, the profiteers, and take over our government, and we will restore world peace.
But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly.
You know, you can be grossly incompetent and be a threat to democracy.
We're going to have our very large United States oil company. We're in the oil business. In other words, we'll be selling oil.
Opposed to the Iraq war, and I actually did say, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. But I said, if you're going to go in, keep the oil.
So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries.
Just like I predicted Iraq was a disaster, I'm the only one that said don't do Iraq.
Spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken oil infrastructure, and start making money.
This is what we have as our president. We're going to end up in World War III. We're going to end up in a depression.
And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so.
I will build a military that's so strong that we'll never have to use it.
In recent weeks, the U.S. military has launched strikes in Nigeria, Syria, and Somalia, seized oil tankers off Venezuela, hit Iranian Revolutionary Guard positions inside Iran.
I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
So was this operation a message that you're sending to Mexico?
Something's going to have to be done with Mexico. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about, because Cuba is a failing nation right now.
Yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned.
He's also threatening to annex Canada.
Frankly, Canada should be the 51st state, okay? It really should.
Canada should honestly become our 51st state.
And invade Greenland and take over Panama.
Greenland. We have to have Greenland. We need Greenland. Actually, we need Greenland for national protection.
It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't.
They say that Denmark was there 300 years ago or something with a boat. Well, we were there with boats too. We're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually.
We need Greenland for national security and international security. The world needs us to have Greenland.
And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Doctrine.
World War III has never been closer than it is right now.
All right, time for a question. Mr. President, do you have a New Year's resolution?
I have.
Let's hear it.
Peace on earth. Peace on earth.
Oops. Good morning, everyone. What a weekend. What a weekend. Julie, where to begin? I don't even know.
Well, let's begin with your incredible clip there that you turned around in just a few hours. I mean, you worked nonstop to do it, but that was a Michelle Kinney joint, everybody, which is why she's so talented and why I am so privileged to be doing this with Michelle, because just amazing. Michelle, we are at war with Venezuela. It's not a declared war. It's not a war that Congress authorized. It is not a constitutional war, but we have now gone into a sovereign country and removed the person who, though he is the illegitimate leader of Venezuela, we removed him. And we did not remove him for any reason other than what the president stated. He wants oil that he believes is our oil. I'm not sure how it's our oil. It is actually located in Venezuela, and Venezuela.
Yeah, I was like, last time I checked, we're not
Venezuela.
America's not in South America. But I honestly think that they're trying to make this argument that America is all of America and we own it because we have America in the title of our country.
Yes, and we are the Western Hemisphere, and therefore he mentioned the Monroe Doctrine. For people who don't know or may not be from this country, the Monroe Doctrine is a doctrine that was not even passed, that was out there in the early part of the 19th century, so over 200 years ago, that talked about how how the United States, the newly founded United States government, did not want Spain and England at the time to be here in the Western Hemisphere because they believed, they being the United States government at the time, that would impact us and impact our ability to defend ourselves. In other words, because we had fought so much with the British, obviously, both during the Revolutionary War and subsequently, that they didn't want the British anywhere near us, just in case that was going to be a launching pad to take over us. What Trump, I think, is actually talking about is not the Monroe Doctrine. I think what he's talking about is the Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, which is that Teddy Roosevelt said in the early part of the 20th century, 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, that we would defend our interests in the Western Hemisphere by force if need be. And that doctrine was tossed out the window at the inaugural address of his cousin, Franklin Roosevelt, in 1932, with the good neighbor policy, basically saying from now on, the United States is going to be a good neighbor to its fellow countries in the Western Hemisphere. We haven't always been. We've actually been a pretty bad neighbor to them many times, including in places like Cuba, including in places like Chile. But what I can say is that at least we put on the act of trying to pretend to be a good neighbor. Here, we're just not even putting on an act anymore, Michelle. And the part that I think should scare the bejesus out of everybody is that he didn't just stop with Venezuela. I don't know if we have those clips, Michelle, but he's launching war on everybody now, and not just in the Western Hemisphere. Apparently, if I were the Frederick X, the King of Denmark, I would not be sleeping well in my castle in Copenhagen today.
No.
Yeah.
I wish that I could see the font on some of these clips, but let me just preface all of this by saying he was on Air Force One last night. So he went to Mar-a-Lago, I think it was 15 days ago. He spent 15 days in Mar-a-Lago where he conducted all of this stuff and all these orders, came back last night on Air Force One with what's his face, Howard Nutlick, and everyone's calling him that these days, and Lady Lindsay. Now, if anyone has seen the Lady Lindsay clips, I thought he was going to lean over and kiss Donald Trump at some point. I don't mean to make light of this, but it really was over the top. Daddy, what a wonderful, wonderful man my daddy is. So I do want to play a couple of these. This is Lindsey Graham talking about all of this stuff, right? I'm just going to start here.
About it. Here's the story for me. He could be in Turkey today, but he's in New York. So if you tell people in Cuba, you need to stop being a communist dictatorship threatening America, you should go somewhere else. You better take the offer. Maduro has nobody to blame but himself. He gave him a way out. He chose to defy Trump and the U.S. military, and his ass is in jail where he deserves to be, and every president has said the same thing, but he did it.
Okay. Let's just talk about this.
Yeah, there's more. We'll get to them.
Yeah, we'll get to it. So Maduro, let's get the stuff out of the way. Maduro is a bad guy. He's a very bad guy. He was very bad for Venezuela. He did not win this election that he ran in last time democratically. Maria Machado did. Maria Corina Machado. But it's not like we are deposing him and bringing him here to the United States to stand trial for narco trafficking, because we are trying to restore democracy to Venezuela. In fact, Trump went out of his way to say that Maria Corina Machado, the woman who won the last election, does not have the support of the Venezuelan people. I don't know if you have that clip. He dismissed her, Michelle.
I don't know that I have that clip specifically, but I don't know if you saw this reporting. This was elsewhere. I pulled it from the Republican Against Trump Twitter account. Yeah, but this was in the Washington Post. 2 people close to the White House told the Washington Post that Trump lost interest in backing Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, despite her recent efforts to flatter him, because she accepted the Nobel Peace Prize, an award Trump has openly wanted. One of them put it bluntly: if she had turned it down and said, quote, "I can't accept it because it's Donald Trump's," she'd be the president of Venezuela today. And that is what we are dealing with. And this is why we have both said, I don't know how many times here and other places, there is no amount of sycophancy that will ever be enough for this man. Ever, 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 ever. Don't even try. I understand the desperation here of her wanting to try here, but like, again, this Donald Trump is a psychopath. He's a psychopath.
He's a psychopath with a maturity level of a 3. I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist, so I don't know which point as a child you start to regulate your emotions, but 2, 3, I'm trying to remember. Certainly not over 3 or 4. I mean, by the time you get to kindergarten, you know how to behave. I just want to talk about this, okay? We have a foreign government that has been removed by force without congressional authorization. Okay, yesterday, Marco Rubio, who's the Secretary of State, the National Security Advisor, and now apparently the Viceroy of Venezuela, according to Donald Trump, told NBC News, he told Meet the Press yesterday, that the Cuban regime might be next, and this is what he said: "I think they're in a lot of trouble." You heard that from Lindsey Graham also. So I want to say this about Cuba. It has been a long time since they were having Soviet missiles shipped to them. Okay, the Cuban government is not threatening the United States. The Cuban government is too messed up and weak to threaten anybody. And yes, I know that they're in Venezuela, and I know that they were helping Maduro, but they're not threatening us. Okay, they're not threatening us. And if you think that they're helping to traffic cocaine that ends up here, I can tell you, and I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to get into a lot of trouble for saying it, if I had $1 for every single person on Fox News that I saw doing lines of coke, who are now talking about how this is a war on drugs and how this is suddenly something that we have to do to stop the flow of cocaine, my head would explode. I would be a very rich person today. I'll leave it at that. But
sorry, keep going.
Yeah, and not just there, but people who are in the Trump administration today. So I'll leave it at that too.
I mean, first of all, none of that surprises me. Having lived in New York City for the last 20 years, none of that surprises me. But furthermore, and to his own son, like, let's just be clear here too. His son is very clearly and visibly has some kind of drug problem, but
I don't know about that. I've never seen that.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying that as Michelle Kinney, an observer of Donald Trump Jr. out in the world, there's something going on there. But I say all that to say, he was making statements about the leader of Colombia because he had been saying things about Donald Trump that he didn't like.
Listen, this is what let me just go through this, okay? You have that clip about Colombia?
Well, I have what he said last night on Air Force One.
Yeah, that would be great. Let's play that.
We have a very sick neighbor. It's not a neighbor, but it's close to a neighbor. And that's Venezuela. It's very sick. Colombia is very sick, too, run by a sick man who likes making cocaine and selling it to the United States. And he's not going to be doing it very long, let me tell you.
What does that mean? He's not going to be doing it very long.
He's not doing it very long. He has cocaine mills and cocaine factories. He's not going to be doing it very long.
So there will be an operation by the U.S. and
It sounds good to me.
Rubio mentioned,
It sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me. So, okay, so Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
Here a good picture. I wish I could put up a picture of a map of South America right now. But so let me be very clear. If people can picture the Western Hemisphere, you've got Venezuela, and right next to it, you've got Colombia. So now we're taking over Venezuela. Marco Rubio is going to be running that. I guess he's going to be running Colombia also. We're taking over Cuba, and I guess, I don't know, is Pete Hegseth, like who's going to be running Cuba? I guess Rubio's going to be running Cuba too. His family's Cuban, so I guess why not?
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense. Central casting.
Right?
Yeah.
So we've got Cuba, a Caribbean island.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to go south. We're obviously going to take over the Panama Canal again. I think he's talked about that too.
Oh yeah, he's definitely said that.
So now we're going south to Panama, and then we're going to keep going south. And we're going to get to Venezuela and Colombia. And then what? I guess we're going to go down to Brazil and Argentina and
I
Chile.
don't think that this stops. I have to be totally honest here. I don't know that it stops.
But it's not just that. So he also talked about Mexico. Do you have that clip? Not, I can tell you what he said.
I don't know that I do.
Okay. This is what he said. He was on Fox and Friends over the weekend.
Oh, that yes. It's in the opening thing that we have.
Right.
Let me.
Right.
I do have it here somewhere. Hold on. But go ahead and say it first.
Yeah. So he also threatened Mexico, and he said, quote, something's going to have to be done with Mexico. And then he added that the drug cartels, again, rather than President Claudia Sheinbaum, who, by the way, has been also sucking up to Trump, are running the country. Quote, we could be politically correct and be nice and say, oh, yeah, she is. She is very frightened of the cartels, Trump said.
Yeah. Oh, I have it here. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Must stop. So was this operation a message that you're sending to Mexico, to Claudia Sheinbaum, the president there?
Well, it wasn't meant to be, and we're very friendly with her. She's a good woman, but the cartels are running Mexico. She's not running Mexico. The cartels are running Mexico. And we could be politically correct and be nice and say, oh, yes, she is. No, she's very, she's very frightened of the cartels. They're running Mexico. And I've asked her numerous times, would you like us to take out the cartels? No, Mr. President. No, please. So we have to do something because we lost. The real number is 300,000 people, in my opinion. They like to say 100,000. 100,000 is a lot of people, but the real number is 300,000 people. And we lost it to drugs, and they come in through the southern border, mostly the southern border. Plenty come in through Canada, too, by the way, in case you don't know. But they come in through the southern border, and something's going to have to be done with Mexico.
Why did you?
Okay. So that's Mexico. And then let's keep going around the globe here, Michelle, because it doesn't just stop with Mexico, right? He also talked about Greenland.
Yes,
right?
I do
and
have. I have that. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Go ahead.
Let's see.
Look at Lutnick and sorry, but look. Oh, you only have the audio. Okay. If you saw the video, you would see Lindsey Graham and Lutnick laughing like hyenas next to him as he makes dumb jokes about dog sleds and the Kingdom of Denmark. Go ahead.
And on Greenland,
What, Greenland now?
yeah, on Greenland.
How did we come up to Greenland?
So, do you expect to take an action against Greenland?
Well, I don't want to talk about Greenland. Talk about Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, and we'll worry about Greenland in about 2 months. Let's talk about Greenland in 20 days.
On Venezuela, we talked so much about energy.
By the way, I will say this about Greenland. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you.
What would the justification be, sir? What would the justification?
to boost up security in Greenland, they added one more dog sled. It's true.
Sir,
They thought that was a great move.
what would the justification be for a claim to Greenland? What would the
I don't
justification
want to
be?
talk about Greenland now.
Then even
I
if
just say this. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And the European Union needs us to have it. And they know that.
Yeah. Okay. So the European Union needs us to have it. Let me be very clear. Greenland, as you may recall, is a self-governing territory of the Kingdom of Denmark, our NATO ally. Is Trump going to send U.S. Special Forces to Copenhagen to kidnap the king until he gets his way? And more relevantly, what does all this mean for NATO's collective defense treaty when the United States is saber-rattling against a member of the alliance? The NATO treaty, Article 5 is very clear. If somebody attacks one member, the rest of them have to come to the defense of that neighbor. So are we about, I mean, this is the collapse of NATO and you're watching it in real time. Vladimir Putin, of course, is laughing his ass off sitting at his dacha somewhere in Moscow or outside Moscow. But I will also say this. What we're basically saying here is that it is our hemisphere and nobody can be here except us. Okay. Guess who has a hemisphere with that attitude elsewhere? If I'm Xi Jinping in China, I'm saying, great. Asia is our hemisphere and nobody could be there except us. So not just Taiwan, but let's keep going, right? Let's keep going. Japan. I mean, the Philippines. Let's just keep going all the way down to Indonesia. All the way down to Indonesia. And if Australia doesn't behave, well, you know what? They're not too far. And so that's one. And then, of course, who also feels like he has his own hemisphere? Who's had his own hemisphere in his lifetime? The Soviet Union had its own hemisphere in our lifetime. The Soviet Union, and I just, it's funny, Michelle, it's not funny actually, but it's interesting. We talked about how I watched Nuremberg over the holiday. And then my husband and I had a long chat because my husband has this incredible fascination with World War II to the point where he's been reading and rereading The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich so much that I feel like I'm getting a little suspicious as to why he's doing it.
Has he watched the BBC? There's 3 seasons of it. It's so good. Yeah.
He's watched. I mean, that's all we do is watch World War II World War II.
I mean, listen, I watched a 3-part thing about Churchill last night. So
yeah, I'm sure we've seen that too. Yeah, it's nonstop. Anyway, but the point is this. So he and I were talking about the fact that, the Russians were never supposed to cross the Elbe at the end of World War II, but there was a race on to get to Berlin because the Russians wanted to get as far west as possible to claw as much territory as possible for their sphere of influence. And they stopped at Berlin, right? And Berlin was and is part of East Germany, except that it was, East Berlin and West Berlin, but everything surrounding it was part of East Germany. And, don't forget that Putin was a KGB agent in Dresden in East Germany.
Right.
So, from his perspective, at least everything east of Germany and potentially even Germany itself is part of his sphere of influence. So if the United States gets the West and China gets the East, in his mind, who gets Europe? You guys, that's
what all this is.
This is the first shot of World War III.
Yes.
And I know it sounds insane to say it.
And we're the bad guys.
But attacking Maduro, attacking Venezuela, and using it as a pretext because he's a bad guy is basically the first salvo of World War III. Yes. Much like the Spanish Civil War was really the first salvo of World War II.
Yes.
It's where everybody practiced their theories. It's where everybody practiced their weapons. And then we know what happened a few years later.
This is spheres of influence. This is what all of this is. And I'm sure, I'm not sure. This is a theory that I don't know, but I'm sure there's some kind of deals that's being worked out. Like, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm going to let you guys have Ukraine. China, if you want to go into Taiwan, that's perfectly fine. and we'll rule our, our hemispheres or whatever. And that's where, again, like, let me just play this. This is Marco Rubio. This was on Saturday talking about Cuba also. So this is this is clearly something that's on the table, something that's being talked about, something that's being planned.
See now, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, they basically, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems that Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Are you cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's...
I'd be concerned. If I was in Havana and was in the government, I would be concerned.
Okay, let me say this. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I do not consent to spill American blood and treasure on a regime change and conquest against governments who pose no threat or danger to the United States. Do you? Does anybody in this chat consent to that?
No.
Because that's what we're being asked to do. And Democrats in the House had a caucus call on Sunday where they complained that they weren't briefed on any of this. Okay, that's what you're complaining about? There is no unified strategy. There's no disciplined message. There's no visible plan to hold Republicans accountable for enabling a president who believes power answers only to his own impulses. And the clock is ticking towards its Department of Defense funding vote this month. There's an absence of leadership in critically messaging here, because if we don't make it painful for the Susan Collinses of the world to vote against this Department of Defense funding, which again is coming up in a few weeks because the government's running out of, once again, the CR expires the end of January. So the government's running out of money at the end of January, or not running out of money, but funding for the government ends at the end of January. And if they don't pass a continuing resolution or a budget, we're going to have another shutdown. But we have to make it painful for some of these moderate, quote unquote, Republicans to vote for this. So stop bitching and complaining that nobody consulted you and say very clearly what I just said. That's all we're saying, okay?
Yeah.
That's all we're saying. They're not generating, Democrats in Washington right now are not generating the pressure, Michelle. They're not.
No, and why is it that Thomas Massey, a Republican, is being harder on this regime than a lot of the Democrats in leadership? Thomas Massey tweeted, JD Vance, of course, in his like lofty, saying things but not saying things, and yes, Donald Trump, and I'm going to be president, and look at how pretty I am. Oh, I hate JD Vance. He is, I can't. Anyways, all of his like lofty tweeting over the weekend, he says, you see a lot of claims that Venezuela has nothing to do with drugs because most of anyways, he goes off to this whole thing and says basically that it's not the Venezuelan oil, it's our oil. That's all bullshit. We all know that. Thomas Massey says it's not American oil, it's Venezuelan oil. Oil companies entered into risky deals to develop oil, and the deals were canceled by a prior Venezuelan government. What's happening? Lives of U.S. soldiers are being risked to make those oil companies, not Americans, more profitable. And that is what this is about.
Okay, and here's the thing. Democrats in Washington are not coordinating a message that ties unilateral warmongering to the funding vote. They're not making clear that cutting off, conditioning, or delaying defense spending is not radical. It's constitutional. It's a means of reasserting Congress's role. Instead, what they're doing right now, I bet you any amount of money, is they are weighing the risks of Trump portraying them as placing both service members and national security at risk if they do, right? So they're sitting there, oh my God, we can't be painted by this guy as being anti-military by cutting off the defense spending. Guess what, my friends? Trump will certainly try. And if these Democrats don't define the stakes right this very moment, right now, he will succeed.
Yep.
And instead, they seem to be complaining that they were not briefed about the Venezuelan operation rather than saying forthrightly and in unison, and I say it again, The American people do not consent to spill blood and treasure on regime change and conquest.
No. And here is I have a couple more clips here. I wish I could tell you which is which, but this is just more of just like the jovial sort of, you know, self-congratulatory nature of like this boys club that's happening on Air Force One, and how jokey all of this is, and how absolutely corrupt the corruption on top of the illegality of all of this is so intertwined. It is so disgusting. It is so over the top. These are Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump things. I think this is the one where he talks about who he gave a heads up to.
Before and after, and they want to go in, and they're going to do a great job for the people of Venezuela, and they're going to represent us well.
Okay, so for anybody who couldn't hear the question from the reporter, he was asking if he gave a heads up to the oil companies before they went in and made strikes against Venezuela. And he says, again, I'll play this one more time. That's the question.
Before and after.
Did you tip them off before and after? So he told the oil companies, he tipped them off that this was going to happen before members of Congress were briefed or notified about this. And this is more, this is of this group of Nutlick and Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump.
Could have done it. And as to this commander-in-chief, he did something people talked about doing. You just wait for Cuba. Cuba is a communist dictatorship that's killed priests and nuns. They've preyed on their own people. Their days are numbered. We're going to wake up one day, I hope in 26, in our backyard, we're going to have allies in these countries doing business with America, not narco-terrorist dictators killing Americans. This is a big frigging day. And everybody in the world is thinking differently than they were just a few days ago because of what you did.
Because of what this man did for us. Like, I can't, he is, first of all, Lindsey Graham is the barnacle on any man's ass who is powerful and near him. I really question every day, Lindsey Graham's, well, I'm not going to say it. I'm sure you're all thinking it. But it's just, it's so flippant. That's the thing that I don't understand. That I'm like, it's all just, here's these Republicans who were supposed to be, I guess not like this. I don't understand. And the fact that there was this argument made in 2016 that Hillary Clinton was some sort of war hawk and Donald Trump wasn't. I mean, I hope that Maureen Dowd is feeling bad. She probably isn't, but this is the kind of bullshit that we're dealing with in not just here but around the world. Like, this has global implications, all of this. And
well, you've got Tucker Carlson, who I used to sit next to for years, talking about how the United States shouldn't have any more adventures abroad and yada yada, and this is all terrible, and Iraq was a mistake, and every intervention we've ever had was a mistake, and it really is an American firster in the true sense of the word, where he just doesn't believe, he's an isolationist in the Charles Lindbergh model in more ways than one. Mm-hmm. But he went on his show yesterday, I guess, and said, and I quote, "It's a distinct possibility that the United States captured Maduro to," and I quote again, "brace yourselves, bring gay marriage to Venezuela." He loved Maduro because Maduro was really conservative. Maduro, was anti-abortion, and Maduro was anti-marriage equality, and check every box. So this is like the insanity happening on the right now. And I have to wonder if this is the thing, this is the test, right? When Trump said he shot somebody in Fifth Avenue, we'd see what would happen. Mm-hmm. His base would stick with him. A lot of them are sticking with him.
Yep.
But you are seeing, MAGA has evolved. MAGA is not a cult of Trump anymore. He's still the figurehead. But, there's a part of this that I think they have their own people. They have their own ideology. They all disagree with each other. And I've said this before. I think a lot of this anti-Israel stuff is anti-Semitic, but I think a lot of this anti-Israel stuff on the right is also about the fact that they don't want us helping somebody who's not American deal with their agenda. So, you know, when we had the strikes on Iran, I think they were like, wait a second, we're striking Iran because the Israelis want us to strike Iran, not because Iran is necessarily threatening us
Not
right now.
because we need to. Right. Exactly.
Right. Now, Iran, you could make the argument, is developing nuclear weapons that eventually could strike either here or our allies.
Right.
Venezuela's not doing any of that. Venezuela's not threatening us.
No.
Whatever. Venezuela, okay, let's put away the propaganda. Venezuela actually is a fairly small producer of cocaine or exporter of cocaine. And when they do export cocaine, the cartels, it goes west. It doesn't go, east. It does not come to the United States. And so, and Trump's not even pretending this is for anything else, right? He's not, like, first it was fentanyl. The indictment you saw did not even mention fentanyl, it mentioned cocaine.
Yeah.
So, but Trump's not even pretending it's about drugs. He's pretending he's saying explicitly what this is about. He wants to make money for American oil companies. And let me be very clear, American oil companies, and this is the part that I think is really important to note, American oil companies are not going to Venezuela until Venezuela is stabilized, because they are not going to go in there and have their assets seized again. And the only way that Venezuela is stabilized, enough for the oil companies to come in, is if we go in there and take it over, which means boots on the ground, which Trump said he's not afraid of. So now your sons, and potentially mine in a few years, because I wouldn't put it past this guy to bring back the draft.
Oh, I had a whole conversation with my husband about this last night. I said, I hope all these morons and jokers who are eating this shit up realize that he and this regime are more than willing to reinstate the draft and send all of our young people overseas to fight this stuff and die. They want people to die for oligarchs around the country or around the world, because he is looking to start wars in so many goddamn places that we do not have enough people to fight them. We just don't. And that, listen, and they could call up people who are retired. They could call up my sister-in-law to come back. They can do that. And I mean, this is and the other thing too, and this is also being reported that Donald Trump, this is again showing how mentally unstable and petty and small and what a psychopath he is. He was very much on the fence about striking Venezuela until he saw a video of Maduro dancing, and he felt that he was making fun of him and he didn't like it. So he said, go in and bomb them. This is the video. Somebody showed that to him and he said, okay, let's go in. That is what put him over the edge. And in terms of these the election stuff too, I have another clip here of him talking about Venezuelan elections. Like, again, this is not about democracy. This is not about the drugs. This is not about anything except oil. And the oil companies and those people who donated to Donald Trump's campaign, and he is giving them a payback, and he is giving all. I'm just going to play this here.
Are you going to demand free and fair elections in the short term in Venezuela?
Well, it depends. You know, what you're talking. We have to do one thing in Venezuela, bring it back. It's a dead country right now. It's a country that, frankly, we would have been, if I had lost the election, we would have been a dead country. We would have been Venezuela on steroids. Venezuela right now is a dead country. We have to bring it back, and we're going to have big investments by the oil companies to bring back the infrastructure. And the oil companies are ready to go. They're going to go in, they're going to rebuild the infrastructure. You know, we built it to start off with many years ago. They took it away. You can't do that. You can't do that with me. They did it with other presidents.
And there's another clip that I don't know that I have, but I did hear it last night, as he said that, you know, Venezuela is so close to us. And he said, it's not on the other side of the world. You don't have to cross any time zones. You don't need to fly like 10 hours to get there. It's like right in our area. And he said it was a viable country. He called it viable. He used the word viable. And that is where people need to take this seriously. This is not a joke. This is not Donald Trump running his mouth. Well, it is he's running his mouth, but it's bigger than that. This is a tweet from the wife of Stephen Miller, Katie Miller. That's Greenland. And wrote soon over the map of Greenland and the American flag laid over it.
Yep.
And this was a response from Denmark. And I want people to understand this too, because this is not anything that's being reported in the news. This is not anything that's being talked about. There is a guy named Ken Howery, who is the ambassador to Denmark. He is a billionaire who is part of the PayPal mafia. He is very close to Peter Thiel. He is very, very close with Elon Musk. He is one of the big, if not biggest donors to Donald Trump. He is only like 52 years old. He is tight with Kik Kennedy, who is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s daughter. He was installed very early on in this regime. Even before the inauguration, it was being discussed that he was going to be the ambassador to Denmark to help annex Greenland. He is part of all of this. There is a connection here to the tech bro world, because also on top of that, now if we're going into the Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel tech bro obsession with Greenland, and guys can Google that. They have a whole obsession with Greenland and about, turning it into a network state and all of the resources or something that they have there. That is another layer of this too. And the tech bros also in this Venn diagram of the spheres of influence want to go in and take over a lot of this area as well to build out their network states and install their CEOs, which is sounds like science fiction, but it's true. And they're all working together to make their dreams come true, including people like Ken Howery, who is part of this tech bro elite and is part of this whole plan. I don't know why people aren't talking about this enough on the news. So if you are in the comment sections of things, talk about this guy. Talk about him. He's dangerous. He is dangerous. And all of this has been laid out for a very long time. Wasn't he talking about this during his first term too? He was like, I want to buy Greenland, and everybody laughed about it.
Yeah. I mean, people, it used to be that you wouldn't take Trump. What was the phrase? Take Trump seriously, but not literally. You should take him literally.
Oh, absolutely. He's not joking. He's not joking about Canada. He's not joking about Greenland. He's not joking about Cuba. He's not joking about Venezuela or Colombia or any other place. This is not a joke. Mehdi Hassan tweeted last night, because, so Donald Trump said Colombia is governed by a madman, but he won't be doing so for much longer. Mehdi Hassan tweeted, Donald Trump is threatening to attack and depose the democratically elected president of another country. Someone who isn't indicted by any court, American or otherwise. This is the behavior of a mob boss, but with nuclear weapons and the world's strongest military. None of this is legal. Trump should be impeached by Congress and indicted at The Hague. Now, the Hague thing's not going to happen, although it should.
It's not going to happen because, but listen, let me just say that, by the way, he should be indicted at The Hague.
Yes.
But let me just say this, and I truly mean this. Maduro was indicted in 2019 by the first Trump administration. Well, he was indicted by a grand jury, but the charges were brought by the first Trump administration. And I want to stress again that he's a really bad guy. However, Donald Trump has now done something very illegal that violates international law. And who is to say that a foreign government would not indict Donald Trump? They can for violating the law, right? I mean, he could probably be indicted in Denmark if he tries to make a play for The Hague. Are we now at the point where a foreign government, not that this is ever going to happen in the United States for obvious reasons, because of our military and as to who we are, but hypothetically, are we now at the point where one government can just go in and pluck
Apparently.
the leader of another government out?
Apparently.
And, Maduro overthrew the last election. Maduro deposed the rightful victor of the last election. And Maduro has governed without regard to the laws of Venezuela, or he's bent the laws to his will. Now, if Donald Trump had had his way on January 6th, the 5th anniversary of which is tomorrow, he would have deposed the rightful victor of the 2020 election. He would have governed as an illegitimate president. And he would have violated the laws of the United States. How is he any different? How is he any different? And for people who are asking, why can't the ICC indict Trump? Well, first of all, the United States is not a party to the ICC, but that's okay. They can still indict him.
Didn't we pull out in the early 2000s during the Bush administration?
Yeah, we pulled out. If we ever even joined. Yeah, I don't remember. But the point is, they could indict him. I doubt it. I mean, that would be just because of who we are. I doubt that would happen.
Which is part of the problem.
But
right? I mean, that's why there's never been any. Everyone's afraid of us. Who's going to hold us? I mean, if we can't stop him and the rest of the world can't stop him, who stops him? And this is like, I heard Tom Nichols talk about this because I saw him doing an interview talking about the film that's on Netflix, which everybody should watch, called it was Jesus, why am I blanking? It's the Catherine Bigelow movie, The Dynamite. It's about the nuclear weapon. Basically, there's a nuclear weapon that is fired at the United States from the Pacific. And it's about how we have 20 minutes to respond. And that the story is told from 3 different vantage points of people who are involved. And Tom Nichols said, because he's very well versed in this stuff. And he said that in the 80s, during the Cold War, we were in maybe 70s, 80s, he said was probably the greatest risk of a bunch of countries firing a bunch of nuclear weapons, right? But now the greatest risk is one country doing it. And that is what scares the shit out of me, Julie, is that I don't think people realize, because I guess maybe it's just, we're not ducking under our desks anymore. So it's not something that's in the forefront of our fears and the things that we're thinking about. But like the nuclear weapon aspect of this, we're dealing with crazy people. We're dealing with Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, the list goes on. These are not stable people, and they have God complexes. And I am afraid that one of them, and North Korea fired some sort of missile over into the ocean the other day too, because they were like, no, pay attention to me too. So you got all these men swinging their you-know-whats around. And this stuff really scares me, that somebody is going to fire something. One is all it takes. And I don't know what your thoughts are about that, but it's something I've been thinking a lot about since I saw that movie.
Look, we are living in to put this more broadly, we're living in unprecedented times. And I will say this again, patriots, take to the streets. I don't know who's organizing protests, but I will say this, and I remember this so well in 2009, Michelle, I'm sure you do too. Barack Obama came to office in 2009. Every time he took a breath, the Tea Party was out.
Oh, yeah.
Out protesting. They were out shutting down town halls that Democrats were having until Democrats, much like Republicans, didn't have them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They were all over Fox News. I was at Fox at the time, so I remember this so well. We're not doing that.
No.
We had two No Kings.
Shocking.
We had 2 No Kings protests.
Two
in the last year.
It.
These guys were out every single day.
And they knew they didn't have power. They didn't have power legislatively, and they had no real way of pushing back on him except for grassroots movements on the ground, showing up day after day after day.
And by the way, yes.
and flooding the phone lines.
They were not so grassroots. They were all funded by the
well,
Koch
funded by the Koch brothers and everything like that. But what seemed like,
we don't have a Koch brothers anymore because Donald Trump has been not afraid to use the Justice Department to cow Democratic donors into not funding this kind of stuff. So, we can't rely on Congress to do the right thing. They had a conference call yesterday where literally, I'm telling you, because I know what was on that call, it was reported, but I also spoke to several people who were on that call. They had a call yesterday where you had the Gang of Eight, which was, Jim Himes has been on the show, and others who are in a position to be briefed on national security issues because they're the relevant ranking members on committees that are national security oriented, and Hakeem Jeffries complaining that they were not briefed. Okay, you weren't briefed. Are you shocked? Oh, heavens to Betsy. The Trump administration did something they weren't supposed to do. They didn't brief you even though they should.
Right. And if I have to, and the two of us, we were texting about this yesterday, the responses and the, the statements that members of Congress and the, senators putting out. I was like, I don't give a shit about your statement. Say this is unconstitutional. This is illegal. I am calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump. That is it. And I don't understand why they even had to wait. And maybe I'm asking for too much here, but like I saw a tweet by somebody I used to work with who said, I'm sorry, are all of your were your Zooms broken on Saturday? Why did it take more than almost 24 hours for everyone to get together like this is an emergency. Our country attacked another country without congressional approval or without even a briefing.
Let me read to you here, and I'm just looking at my phone, so I'm going to read to you from my phone here. Oh, God, they always do this for me. They always make me put my stupid email in to get to this again. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
I'll show this meme.
Basically, Axios. I'm going to read you the headline.
I saw this.
It looks weak. Dems fume at their party's response to Maduro capture, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to read the lead. Some Democrats are grumbling at their party's largely oppositional stance to President Trump's raid to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, saying privately that their colleagues should be celebrating. So one swing district House Democrat told Axios, I'm reading here, in a text message on Saturday, nuance is dead in politics. Maduro is a bad guy. Glad he's gone. You can't have it both ways, the lawmaker said, venting that everything Trump touches must be bad according to the base.
Yeah.
I don't know who this guy is, but why don't you just switch parties and go to town?
Yeah, just
another vulnerable House Democrat told Axios in a phone interview, quote, as Democrats, we can't just condemn what happened. I wish the Democratic Party would be a little bit more measured on this. I think it looks bad, a third centrist House Democrat said. If you don't acknowledge when there's a win for our country, then you lose all credibility.
This is not a win.
Am I having like flashbacks to Iraq here? Like what win are you talking about? This is an extrajudicial, illegal annexation, effectively de facto, of a country. Because first of all, we replaced Maduro with meet the new boss, same as the old boss, his vice president, Delcy Rodriguez.
I've got it here somewhere. I thought I did. I thought I had it here somewhere. Here it is. Message from Venezuela to the world and the United States from Delcy Rodriguez. Venezuela reaffirms its commitment to peace and blah, 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 blah. We prioritize moving towards balance and respectful international. And basically what she's saying here is, there's not going to be any regime change. Like, and Maduro, when Maduro's second person in line is replacing him, and there is not a regime change, and he's telling Machado to go pound sand, there is no regime change. Like, what is the point of all of this?
Well,
are people really buying this?
Well, yes, because Donald Trump threatened her, and Donald Trump effectively said that he was going to do something, he's going to do to her what he did to
him.
Maduro,
right.
Or worse, translation, I'm going to have you killed. Also against policy of this country and has been since the Carter
administration. Yeah, it's
to murder heads of state, but okay, let's put that aside. We're going to have you killed if you don't do what we say, which is that let us come in and take over your oil fields. Okay, so we are now going to come in and take over their oil fields while they subjugate their people, don't hold democratic elections, and otherwise proceed apace the way they have before. Right? Is that the deal? Like we get their oil. And so the oil companies are going to be rich and they continue to have the dictatorship that they have.
Mm-hmm.
At least we used to pretend this was about democracy.
Oh yeah, it's what is this? Chris Murphy it responded to Trump's answer about the elections, fair elections in Venezuela, because I don't think there's any intent on having any of that. Chris Murphy, Senator Murphy from Connecticut, said it was never ever about the drugs. It was never ever about getting rid of a thuggish dictator or restoring democracy. It was about the oil to get his friends rich, and he's not hiding it. He said again, we watched this just a minute ago. He says on Air Force One, a reporter asks him, did you tip off the oil companies before we started dropping bombs and invading? He said, yes, before and after. Before and after. Here's a tweet from senior U.S. Justice Department officials promoting a post that praises colonization as one of the greatest things that ever happened to the backwards parts of the world. Eagle Ed Martin, he quote tweets a tweet from Jesse Kelly. Colonization is one of the greatest things that ever happened to the backwards parts of the world. And the only reason most don't know this is because we were educated by communists who hate Western civilization. And here's another tweet. The U.S. is just a rogue authoritarian state right now, guided by white supremacy and the corporate greed of oligarchs. We are headed deeper into dark times. And, it's there is, again, watching that Churchill thing last night, Julie, there's a reason I watched it, because I was like, I need to feel, like the world has been through this before. We were on the good side, but, they said something about how, there was a calm way about him, that he would go into the streets, the day after the Germans were bombing London all night long. And then he would go into the streets the next day and he would talk to people and he would sit down and there was something just measured and calm about him amongst the chaos. And he made people believe that they could win, even though it felt like they couldn't. And the one thing that they talked about that really struck me more than anything is the communication, and why communication and narrative is so important. And that's why I get even more angry watching the Democrats not doing any of this. It was like there's only one side that's really doing the talking right now, because you're all talking at each other. And there's not some sort of coordinated or cohesive message that is simple and that people can rally around. Because I think a lot of the reason why people aren't in the streets is because people feel absolutely hopeless. Yep. I think people are like, I'm not going out in the street because why would I? Yep. Nothing's going to happen. We did this last time. The country reelected him. Nobody cares. And that's how people feel. But I just don't think that that's true. I think that given a little bit of leadership somewhere, if somebody or some few people can step up and actually do the right thing, and maybe I don't know what people are so afraid of. Are you afraid you're going to lose elections? We might not even have elections. Why not just get out and do something now? And one of the points that they made, Boris Johnson of all people, he said that, Hitler made speeches about himself, about what I can do. Hitler was like, this is what I can do. I'm capable of this, and I'm going to do this, and me, 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 me. But Churchill made speeches that said, this is what you are capable of. Mm-hmm. This is what we can do. This is how we're going to beat these bad guys. Even though it feels like we can't, we can. And that is the difference. That's the difference right now. And the fact, again, and I don't want to hear from people, don't beat up on the Democrats. I will. Because they're the only thing that stands between us and Donald Trump right now with any lever of power whatsoever.
I got to say, I'm sorry. We need an opposition party, and we don't have one right now. Like, for everybody that's like, and I get this so much. Why are you beating up on the Democrats?
Oh, I'm sick of that shit. I'm like,
you know what? I'm really sick of that shit. Like, I'm not beating up on them. I've devoted my life to the Democratic Party. I have spent 30 years getting Democrats elected.
Exactly.
A lot of people who are in this House and Senate right now.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them, I shouldn't say none of them, many of them are not living up to the task. No. Certainly leadership is not leading up to the task. Some of them put out 6-page tweets. I mean, literally like shouldn't 6
Oh
pages.
my God. I'm like, who wrote this? No one's reading this.
6-paragraph tweets that, whereas Nicolas Maduro is a bad guy, whereas Nicolas Maduro stole elections, whereas this, whereas that, still, however, we shouldn't have done this. By the time you got to the still, however, we shouldn't have done this, my eyes were glazing over, and I guarantee you, I was almost done reading. I can only imagine how many.
Right. I'm like, it's like the Senate. Remember, it was like the Senate Dems like put out these like 50-point things, what we did this week. I'm like, no, pick 3 things, put them on an easel, and send it out into the world. Like, what? How is this hard?
You guys, it is a very simple message. I do not consent to spill American blood and treasure on regime change and conquest against governments who pose no danger to the United States. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And Nicolas Maduro does not pose a danger to the United States. And you know how I know this? Because Donald Trump all but said so.
Yeah.
It's not about the drugs. It's not about the fact that he's sending fentanyl here to kill people up in, kids up in New Hampshire. It's not about the cocaine.
No.
It's about oil. He said so.
This meme says it all. Like, and to watch the MAGAs flop over like a dead fish, like nothing matters. Like this whole no new wars, and like, which was the point of the video that I made, is the hypocrisy of him running his mouth about, I'm going to be the peace man. So they're all, no more wars. Oh, wait, but yes. And we're going to bomb these fishermen, but they're not fishing boats. They were drug cartels. Even though it totally violates international and domestic law, we're going to do it anyways. And by the way, they have oil. And let's topple the Venezuelan government, and nothing matters to me. It's wild to watch them do this. And again, you have people like Thomas Massey being the only ones with a spine who have anything to say. Meanwhile, didn't the clock run out on this Epstein file thing we were supposed to see or something? I was reading something about, like, again, we haven't seen all of that.
We haven't seen the Epstein files. They missed that deadline. Of course, they were not talking about that now. If I were the House Democrats, you know what the House Democrats should do today? Release some more Epstein files.
Yes.
Release some more of the stuff.
And meanwhile, tomorrow, as you mentioned, is the 5-year anniversary of Donald Trump trying to overthrow the United States government and incited a violent insurrection on the United States Capitol. And the American people gave Donald Trump the keys back to that building, and he was inaugurated in the rotunda of that building last year. And it is all so sickening to watch this. I feel like we're watching a car crash in slow motion, and I feel like I am in the future looking backwards, reading the history of this moment, going, what happened? Why weren't people paying attention? Why didn't anybody do anything? And, people like Julie and I and, others, and listen, just the people showing up here in the chat and being part of this conversation. I know we all know this. We know this better than anybody probably. But the collective psyche of the American people is distracted. They're distracted about food coloring in your kids' candy. With RFK Jr., they're concerned with, who's going to be in the Super Bowl. Why isn't my phone working fast enough? Like there's so much other bullshit that people don't realize is going to go out the window if we don't do something about this now. And I don't even know that there's a small window of opportunity here because I used to think that there was. Maybe there still is, and maybe I'm just very cynical now. But there has to be, to your point, Julie, a strong opposition like a Machado inside the United States, standing up against this every single day, and galvanizing the American people and creating a narrative that helps people believe that we can come out of this. Because things feel pretty bad right now. And on top of it, do people know that Donald Trump had another cognitive test? That's the other piece of this that I'm like, he's a mental case. Here is from People Magazine, Julie Roginski's People Magazine. This was on January 2nd, 3 days ago. Trump brags about acing his 3rd straight cognitive exam 1 month after making the same claim. It says that he boasted on social media on January 2nd that his doctors have just reported he nailed his 3rd straight cognitive evaluation. He made the same claim about taking a 3rd cognitive test on December 9th. This week's post comes on the heels of an expose about Trump's health in the Wall Street Journal, in which he claimed to be in perfect condition. So we have a man with his finger over the nukes, invading countries, threatening to annex other countries, who, why is anyone taking that many cognitive tests, Julie?
Well, Michelle, funny that you say this. My theory, and I'm not a doctor and I have nothing to base this on, but he has all the hallmarks of somebody who has Alzheimer's. And again, let me be very clear, and I say this with tremendous personal regret because, as you know, I'm dealing with this in my own family right now. But there is a new class of drugs for Alzheimer's that, and I'll just tell you what these drugs do and how the protocols work. And again, this is based on I don't have Alzheimer's, but somebody in my family has Alzheimer's, so I've been dealing with this very, very much lately. There's a new class of drugs, and what this new class of drugs does is, if that you're approved for them, it scrapes the plaque off your brain. So it doesn't necessarily get rid of Alzheimer's, but it delays.
Yeah. Does it like slow it down, kind of?
It slows down Alzheimer's getting worse. They're not sure for how long. They think about 18 months, potentially longer. They don't know. It's a very, very new class of drugs. What it does is it has a very high risk of brain bleed, because when you scrape the plaque off the brain, it literally scars the brain. So the brain cells don't grow back because the part where the plaque is it creates a scar. So what that basically means is that you're very prone to brain bleeds, which means you have to get PET scans very often to do that as a preventative measure. Remember how you talked about a preventative MRI? This is a preventative measure to make sure that you're not bleeding out. The way you get this medicine administered to you is through a transfusion. The same way you do if you get chemo, for instance, except rather than chemo drugs, it's these drugs that you get. And you have to take cognitive tests every so often to see whether the medicine is actually working and the progression is slowing down or not. Everything he says, the thing about Donald Trump is he doesn't know how to keep a secret. So he says what's going on.
He tells us all the time.
Listen and pay attention.
Yeah, because again, it's like, oh, that's just Trump being Trump. Trump's being jokey. No, just listen to him.
Yeah. So just listen to what he's saying to you. Everything adds up. And when you look at his family history, and again, I say this with tremendous regret, I do not wish this on anybody, including Donald Trump, because it is a horrible disease. Just the worst. But when you have a father who died of Alzheimer's, and you have a sister who died of Alzheimer's, and I think it's either his brother or his uncle who died of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
You've got a high risk.
Very.
I mean, I know this from personal experience. I have a higher risk of getting Alzheimer's because I have immediate family members who have it. And so I'm saying this to you to say that I think that's what's going on with him.
Yeah. I mean, it seems pretty apparent.
He's basically confessing. And think about this. We have a man with Alzheimer's who, in order to stave off the fear that he's gotten, and that's why, remember, he talked about a few months ago, 6 months ago, he talked about how he wasn't going to go to heaven, and when he died.
Oh, absolutely.
He's been thinking about death a lot. I think that's when he got diagnosed.
Lot.
I think that's when he got diagnosed.
I think so too. And so I know I've talked about this before, but one of the last ads that I worked on at LP was the first ad that they did about Fred Trump and Donald Trump. And we went and found, it was very hard to find, there's one recording of Fred Trump's voice. He was accepting an award or something, and we ran it through an AI generator and had Fred Trump voice the ad. And it was him yelling at his son, Donald Trump, saying, "You're a failure, you're an F up, you're this, you're this." And he says, "I may have lost my mind, but I never lost my business." And this was around the time that, the Trump organization was no longer allowed to do business in New York. But the reason that we had put that out at the time is because he kept talking about this. My mom and dad are looking down on me. My dad is looking down on me. He said it all the time. And people joked about it online because they were like, "Are you sure they aren't looking up?" But it's he always tells on himself, and he's always telling us what he's doing or what he's thinking about. Always. And that is where, again, if you want to get into Donald Trump's brain, literally as like a messenger or opposition or anything, listen to what it is that he's talking about. He's telling you what he's thinking about, especially as it pertains to his vulnerabilities. It makes him feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump's all about being tough all the time.
And that's why he's doing what he's doing. I believe this. This is like compensation. He's overcompensating for his illness. I think he knows he's dying.
Yes.
It's slow. It's a long goodbye. It's a slow death.
Oh yeah.
But it is a death sentence.
Death by 1,000 cuts for sure.
And it's awful. It's awful. But what's happening is that he's overcompensating by being like, no, I'm tough. I'm in charge. I'm strong. I'm this, I'm, all of it.
Yeah.
And, whatever he's going through would be best discussed with a therapist. Instead, we're all living the therapy session with him.
The amount of therapy that has not been had by powerful men in this country and in the world, and the fact that we all have to suffer because Fred Trump didn't love his son, or the fact that Donald Trump doesn't love his son, or like, I mean, the list goes on. JD Vance had a dad who didn't love him. I mean, like the list goes on and on and on and on.
You know what, Michelle? When I worked in the Senate, now going back 25 years ago, it was a long time ago. I went to this incredible press conference. The senator who I worked for was at this press conference. So was Harry Reid, whose father committed suicide. So was Ted Kennedy, whose sister, obviously, famously Rosemary Kennedy, had mental health issues. I'm trying to remember who else was there, but it was a significant number of really prominent people. I believe John Edwards, I think, if I'm not mistaken, something happened with his dad too. But anyway, the point is there were a lot of members of the Senate, prominent people, who had family members who had mental health issues that included, like, not just Rosemary Kennedy, who was lobotomized famously and institutionalized for most of her life, but also Harry Reid's father, who at the time Harry Reid, I think, was he the minority leader? Maybe not, but he was on his way to becoming the minority or the majority leader rather. And his dad committed suicide. And they talked about how we need to have mental health treatment at parity with physical health treatment. Like, why is it that insurance companies will pay for you to get chemotherapy, but they won't pay for you to go see a therapist? And how we need to stop stigmatizing mental health, and how we need to start embracing mental health as health, right?
It is just as important.
And it's just as important. I would argue in some cases even more important, because it leads to bad, outcomes for your physical health if you don't get
it. All manifests itself in one way or another, right?
And
in both ways.
And what I regret so much that it's been 25 years and we really haven't destigmatized mental health. We haven't destigmatized therapy. We haven't destigmatized
even medical treatment, right? For depression or any of this.
I mean, people don't talk about, going to see their therapists openly. Maybe in New York they do.
I know. I was like, we all do. We're like, I have therapy today.
New York, but not anywhere else. But we don't talk about. A lot of people have to take, drugs for depression or other issues, and we don't talk about that because it's kind of looked down upon as something
as a weakness or a sickness, or like you can't be trusted because you're crazy.
If we had stopped stigmatizing that a long time ago, we might be in a different place today with Donald Trump. Who dearly would have benefited from some intense therapy over the course of his 79 years on Earth.
Listen, I look at my own family and the amount of mental illness from, going back generations, reading diaries, things like this. And I'm always wonder, I'm like, how different everyone's life would be had they had the help that they needed. They wouldn't have passed it down to their kids and their kids. And it's like, and I mean, this is just one American family out of like millions of American families who are dealing with addiction, depression, bipolar, all kinds of things, and there's no shame in this. But again, we're dealing with these like alpha males who like, are telling us to go tan your balls and stuff. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, instead of going to get, help with your mental health, like they're doubling and tripling down on their problems. And again, pushing this further and further and further away. And these are all the actions of crazy people. Legitimately, like mentally, Donald Trump is a crazy person. On top of whatever else he's dealing with. He's a psychopath. And, these are the scariest kinds of people, because Donald Trump also is not anyone who feels remorse. He is not anyone who feels empathy. And in fact, you have somebody like Elon Musk who has made it part of this, manosphere, saying empathy is a weakness. So Linda's asking, tan your balls? Yes, this was a part of Tucker Carlson. All these people, this was like 2 years ago, they were telling people testicle tanning. It's a whole thing. You can look it up. I promise I'm not making this up. But this is all like, it's part of it's like the incel thing. Nick Fuentes is saying it's gay to have sex with your wife because these guys feel like such losers that they're tripling down and saying, no, don't touch anybody. He's like, it's so gay to like hug your wife and like cuddles. These people are not okay. And because of it, we're bombing countries. Julie, like, I mean, here's the thing. At a certain point, you have to laugh because it's so ridiculous. But on the other side of this is some really serious things going on. And I hope that I say all that for my own mental health and all of you at home. This is a lot to deal with. As just citizens of the world, citizens of this country, it is very hard to take care of ourselves in these moments. And on top of dealing with kids and parents and feeding our families and paying our rents and doing all this stuff. And then also to try to keep ourselves in the know and like know what's going on. It's heavy. So I hope all of you at home, especially as we come up on tomorrow's 5-year anniversary of something that was one of the darkest days in American history. We're going to have to relive that day as well. And, try to take care of yourselves. Tonight is 12th night. It is the 12th day of Christmas. If that's something that you pay attention to, I do, just because Shakespeare, it's fun. If you want to party like a pagan tonight, have some wassail and a king's cake, and try to, it's all about the small things in life. So Julie, I know I talk about this, often. We struggle, we all struggle with this.
Yeah. And you guys, all right, a couple of programming things. We are going to, hopefully, if it does not get derailed with what's happening in Venezuela, have a pretty incredible January 6th treat. Well, treat is not the word, but
yeah, I don't know about treat.
Treat is not the worst, but hopefully this guest, we will not disclose who it is because we're hoping it happens. But we will have a podcast tomorrow in honor of January 6th, which is like our dream person to come on this podcast and talk about it. So it's not Michael Fanone or Harry Dunn.
No, yeah, it's not. But it was someone who was certainly there.
Who was certainly very high profile who was there. So we will have that podcast for you tomorrow. It's not Fanone. No, I just don't want.
No, I know. Sorry, guys. It's not any Capitol Police officers.
It's not any Capitol Police officers. Although we will try to have them on as well at some point.
Yeah.
To talk about what they saw, but it's not them. So that's one. 2, we are finally going to launch our Americans watch party. So for people who are interested in joining us to do a rewatch of The Americans, it's a way to take attention, whatever, time off. Please download the first episode of The Americans, watch it this week, and then we will discuss it all. We're just trying to get a date. We have
sent out the Google Doodle to everybody to pick a time.
Crew of people. We've got military people who know about national security. We've got hopefully Olga Lautman's going to be joining us, who is, as you guys know, Russia expert. We got me. We got me who came to this country right when the Americans was
Which
taken.
is fascinating to me. The whole thing is fascinating.
We've got all sorts of things. Have we figured out a way for folks to watch it for free?
I wish that I had any way to do this. I would listen, I even thought, I was like, could we do this on like a private link and like that? It's just like there's so many things that our YouTube account could get shut down and things like that. So if I find anything else, I'll keep looking. And of course, if you guys see anything, please leave it in the comments. Any like even just like super cheap way to do it. We'll try to help you guys.
I know Zoom. Yeah.
I know, but even then it's like you need one of those accounts where you can have like thousands of people on it. We don't have that. So
we don't have that. It is on. I mean, you could download it on Amazon. You could download it on. Let me see how much it is on Amazon. Hold on.
Some of them do exist on YouTube. There's like some bootlegs. So if I do find them, if you find them, drop them in the chat.
So
comments,
the entire series for the Americans, but it's on DVD. I don't know why am I looking for this on DVD. I'm not.
I do have a DVD player. I have a VHS player.
Do you really? That's funny. But no.
Just in case the Chinese like turn off our internet, I will have a way to entertain myself with old Seinfeld DVDs.
Okay. Season 1 of The Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire season is $17 on Amazon, which I understand is not inexpensive. But if you want to watch the first season with us,
mm-hmm.
You can download it on Amazon for about $17. And it's on DVD again. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this. Why do they not have this to stream?
No, it's definitely available. I'll find it. I'll share it. We'll share it out into the world.
Yeah. So yeah, please watch it with us if you can. Way to take your mind off of it. Yes, it is sexy as well.
Yes, I heard the show is sexy. It is.
It is fairly explicit.
Very fun. Very fun.
It is a fun show. So watch it with us because it's going to be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a way to take attention away from everything that's happening. So it's great. It was not on Netflix, Michelle, was it? It was on
FX. It was FX. On Hulu. Yeah.
Yeah, and Hulu. Oh, is it on Hulu? Maybe
it might be. It definitely you can definitely buy, I think, or rent it on Apple for sure. Because I bought the whole set at some point.
Okay.
How many seasons were The American? A bunch. I don't know, 6, something like that.
7. Oh, you know what? If you have Hulu, if you have Hulu, my friends, you could watch it for free.
Oh, good. See, there you go. There you go.
So if you have Hulu or Disney, Disney Plus or Hulu already, you could watch it for free.
Yeah.
And
I will not rest until we get Matthew Reese at least on the show at some point, of us doing this rewatch. And I would also love, just so people know, like the people who wrote and created the show are former intelligence people. So, we're hoping to get a hold of them and talk to them too, because all of this is it's very relevant to what we're dealing with. It's just,
well, yes, we all did cancel Hulu and Disney, but then they brought Jimmy Fallon back. So I guess we can re-sign up again.
I love the 6-7 in the comments where I was like, I was talking to my mother-in-law last night because my husband calls them every Sunday night.
Yeah.
And I forget what it was. They were talking about how many minutes between something. And my mother-in-law goes, 6 or 7. And my husband's like, we're such losers. All the children hate us.
You guys, I went to a squash tournament with my son yesterday. And he was playing. So the way it works is like, you play and then the kids who play have to ref the next game. So it's actually nice. The kids ref each other's games. And so you have a bunch of, 10 to 15-year-olds reffing the games. And of course, every time you play till 11. So you get to a point where yesterday my son was playing and I forgot whether it was my son or the guy who was playing one had 6 and the other had 7. the entire tournament basically all but shuts down. Everybody goes 6-7, 6-7. I'm like,
I like it kills me. It's so dumb, but it's actually like it's almost endearing at this point. I think it's funny, and it's one of those things, however anybody feels about it. It's one of those things that we can all look around at each other, and it's like this inside joke that we all know. And I think I don't know. I think it's delightful. Especially the videos of the kids. Have you seen the like all the little kids that are like at that basketball game? And like one of the scores is about to hit 67, and the kids just absolutely lose their minds. I don't even understand it, but I love it. I
well,
love
if
it.
you ask my son, you're like, you don't even know what this is. He now makes my mother say it to him all the time, but in Russian.
This is what I'm saying.
Because he speaks Russian to her, so he goes to her. He's like, grandma, say 6-7, 6-7, which is 6-7 in Russian. So my mom's like, what? 6-7? What are you talking about? Like she's like, what? And he's like, so now it's not even like 6-7 in English. It's like 6-7, 6-7.
He's bringing it full circle.
He's bringing it to like
and Brian's like South Park did a great 6-7 thing.
Oh, it was amazing.
I know. I've watched that episode like 10 times. It's so funny.
Amazing. Yeah. All right, you guys. So we have a lot going on. Please, if you can, do join us for the Americans rewatch. Download the first season. Or at least the first episode, watch it, and we'll probably do something later this week at night, most likely, because we have people who actually have day jobs that they can't join us for at night. They can't join us during the day. And then we're back on track. We have obviously the Mayday morning show every morning. We are having our podcast. I hope this thing works tomorrow.
Fridays with Jeff.
Yeah, Kevin Cox, the Giants did win yesterday, which very much upsets every Giants fan because that means that they don't have a high draw when they have to. Yeah, so it's not a good thing that the Giants won if you're a Giants fan. But as I heard from the Giants fans who I live with, and that's that. So, and then we'll see you guys. And Olga and I are back on Thursdays for our Cox Americana show at 11. And then we're developing a few other shows. So 2026 is going to be good for Mayday. I'm not sure how good it's going to be for the country, but it'll be good for us.
Lots to talk about. And not enough hours in the day to do all of it sometimes, but we're doing our best.
And send that wonderful ad that Michelle did to all your friends, please. Send it around because we do want people to watch us. They understand.
Yeah. The MAGAs in the YouTube comments they're all very mad. Somebody told me I sucked. Like, you suck, Michelle. And I was like,
Great. Okay. Merch. We are setting up a merch shop. We are finally figuring out how to monetize.
Yeah.
So we're setting up a merch shop. Is the video up to share? Yes. In fact, why don't we drop it in the chat here, Michelle, so that people hold on.
Will do. I've got it here. Just give me uno momento. Apologize if this comes on here. Let's see. There it is. Share, copy, chat. There you go. There it is in the chat.
Yep. Okay. All right, you guys. Thank you very much. And we will see everybody tomorrow. And hopefully sooner than that with the podcast if we're dropping tomorrow. Okay. Bye,
everyone.